pleasure is infinite. It's limitless. It's moment to moment, and you can experience pleasure at any moment that you choose. What a lot of women tend to do, a lot of people, is we list what we do instead of coming from a space of intimacy, of a really personal space. And men love that. Men, and they don't know why, but when a woman is speaking from a heart space, from her yoni space, which is Sanskrit for vagina, I don't know if people know that, but when it's coming from these deep spaces, men feel that. They may not be able to articulate it, but they feel something where they want to be closer to the woman. Men love vulnerability because then it gives them permission to be vulnerable too.
Welcome to yourbrilliance.com. I'm your host, Amy Waterman. And today we are going on a journey from pleaser to pleasure. Raise your hand if you're a people pleaser. I know. I am too. I think most of the women I know are. We love to make other people happy. That's what makes us happy. But making other people happy is not the most direct route to happiness, nor is waiting for that special someone to make us happy. It's up to us to take our happiness into our own hands. And our guest for today, Sophia Treyger, is going to help us do that. Sophia is a radical pleasurist, a women's pleasure and intimacy coach. She takes her clients through deep transformation by using unique body-centered coaching and the support of the Intimate Sisterhood. Women who go through her programs emerge fully empowered, sexually, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, so that they can have satisfying and fulfilling relationships with their bodies and with men. Sophia is also the founder of the Intimate Sisterhood, the Radical Pleasure Sisterhood, Women's Intimacy Soirée, and her signature Radical Pleasure Program. Welcome, Sophia.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
So let's talk about this journey from pleaser to pleasure. What does pleasure mean to you? Like, where is this destination we're headed towards?
Well, first of all, I really love how you said that it's not something that we can wait for as women for somebody else to give to us. This is a solo journey. And that's a really beautiful thing because I get to decide what my compass is. I get to decide what the map is. I get to decide where it is that I want to go and what it is I want to feel. And pleasure, when I speak about pleasure, and it totally triggers people because they go right into, oh, she's talking about sex. So either people are going to be really into it or they're just going to want to run away. And pleasure is any form of sensual experience. So it could be, I looked out my window today and saw this beautiful snow everywhere. I don't really like snow, but just the image of it felt so beautiful and inviting. And then I walked back into my house, and having my tea in the morning is beautiful. Sleeping in my comfy bed is a pleasurable experience. So pleasure is infinite. It's limitless. It's moment to moment, and you can experience pleasure at any moment that you choose, even when you're experiencing other sensations like pain or anxiety or depression or sadness. You can always choose to focus on experiencing pleasure through your senses.
So I want to talk about then for where most of us start. Like when I think of pleasure, I'm actually, I tend to think of things like having that slice of cake, or I think of spending that extra money on something I really want. A lot of the pleasures we have are actually pleasures we feel quite guilty about, pleasures where we think this isn't necessarily the best for me. Why do women need more pleasure in their lives? Like, aren't we getting enough pleasure with just what we do normally?
Well, I want to differentiate between the trend of the self-care movement. I actually don't really like saying self-care at all. I don't need to be told one more time to take a bath. I really don't. What I talk about is self-love, and any moment that you're choosing to give to yourself, I'm borrowing this from Mama Gina. She's one of my mentors, even I've not met her, but I'm reading Pussy, a Reclamation, and it's really just juicing me up and reminding me of what she calls turn on, that we can choose to be turned on, which is, she talks about it like a light. Like when you're turned on, there is a radiance about you as a woman that then extends out to everybody else and everything else in the world. And it's like, who doesn't want that? I mean, we're terrified of it. That's why we dim our lights, or other people dim our lights. But it's not about forcing or doing anything. It's about, for me and what I teach, it's about feeling. It's about connecting to the body again. Most women are not connected to their bodies. They are really afraid to connect with their bodies because of trauma or violence, or they just have been taught that it's a sin to connect with their bodies. I work with a lot of recovering, fill in the blank, recovering Catholics, Mormons, Christians, whatever. Like, there's just so much that we're told that's not okay. So even the whole guilty pleasure, that we need to remove that word guilty and just say, I'm going to have a piece of cake today because it feels good. I'm going to watch TV. It feels good. I'm going to masturbate. It feels good. I'm going to listen to music. I'm not going to work, myself to the grave. It's about noticing what feels good. That doesn't mean there aren't going to be challenges in life, because the more you step up and awaken, the more you have expansion, pains, growth pains. But you just keep on going. And I think that's much more pleasurable than being asleep. I remember what it was like to be asleep. I don't even like to go back to that place.
So what I hear you saying then is that pleasure, this is not about consumerism. This is about
Oh gosh, yeah.
consuming something that's going to make us feel good. This is about being turned on. I think is a really, really good phrase, because there is something, as you said, the light that turns you on. So let's kind of dig into that. How do we make that happen? Because surely maybe eating a slice of cake isn't going to turn us on. Maybe there's different things that turn us on and take that to that next level, as opposed to, like I said, just mindlessly consuming.
Yes. So many things that you just said is pointing to intention. So you can have that slice of cake, but if you're using it to escape, if you're using it to suppress pain, if you're an overeater, for example, or you have a food addiction, because anything could be an addiction, there's both sides to it. So what stops something from being an addiction is intentionality. So when you can stop, first of all, you have to pause. Let's just start there. Pausing is incredible. Just pausing in your day, in the moment before you speak, to feel your breath. And this is something I'm teaching women right now in my pleasure and intimacy immersion. We're talking a lot about language and how to communicate effectively with men and with anybody in your life. Is one, you have to pause. Two, you have to feel whatever. If you're feeling super restless, you have to calm that down with your breath. Then you can speak from that place of what you desire and what your feelings are. That's just extremely important, the pausing, because in the pause, you check in with yourself and you say, why do I want to say what I'm about to say? Or why do I want to do what I'm about to do? And most of us don't do that. We just go. I'm a big fan of pausing. That's why I moved out of New York City, because that's a very fast-paced environment. I was very slow. And so pausing is extremely important. And asking questions. I say this a lot. I'm a big language person, and what you say to yourself and what kinds of questions you ask yourself is going to shape your reality in that moment, in your day, in your life. So asking yourself questions that really bring you out of an autopilot mode, like, what is it about this chocolate cake that I'm drawn to? Is it because I want to forget my problems, or is it because I just really want to eat this chocolate cake, or I'm on my period and I want the, caffeine and magnesium? Be intentional about it. that's really the biggest thing, is mindfulness. And sex and pleasure and any sensual experience is about mindfulness. It doesn't happen in the thoughts. It might start with thoughts, but then it has to be connected with the rest of your body and your breath and sensations.
I love that slowing down. I was just thinking, as you were talking about the chocolate cake, I was thinking the difference between how I eat and how my daughter eats. So my daughter's 6. And when I'm eating something, I like, okay, it's done. I'm going to go do, maybe it tasted really good, but like, I've got to eat it. I've got stuff to do. And then I'm done. She could like take an hour to eat a sandwich. She just slowly nibbles. And I know she's probably tasting that sandwich a lot more. But I think as women, I think you're right. I think we're so busy. And I think the other thing that takes us out of that mindfulness and that sensuality and being embodied is our darn phones. You have a chance to be in your body, to look around and say, my family, and I'm really happy, and isn't this lovely to be home? And instead you're like, I got to check that phone. And when you check your phone, you're not in your body. So can you give us some tips? Slow down. Okay, we've got that. To get back into our body so that we can actually feel this pleasure rather than just like the chocolate cake. Okay, I'm done.
Yes. I'm a very experiential person. Even when I present or teach, it's always interactive. So can we go through just a little bit of a exercise right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Really, and something that I teach a lot, it's called body tracking. I'm not going to get into that right now because it's nuanced. It's so simple. It takes 30 seconds. It's nuanced, but I do want to get into the breath. So all you have to do, you don't even have to close your eyes, is that when you're speaking to somebody, and for those of you who are listening and watching this, just take a moment right now to feel your hips. If you're sitting, feel your hips on the seat, whatever you're sitting on, and that already gives you the tactile information, the sensation. Can you feel that, Amy?
Yes.
Just your hips on what you're sitting. And if you're standing, feel the soles of your feet. Bring your attention into the soles of your feet. That's all it takes. Even me just telling you, you're already focusing on that. And you can tell that to yourself, like, okay, I'm going to focus on my feet now. I'm going to focus on my hips. And that's how you can focus on different parts of your body. And then you can feel your breath. You can feel as your chest expands, and that already slows you down. So I really like focusing on the hips and the heart because there's so much that happens there, especially when I'm teaching a very special kind of yoga that I teach women to open up their heart spaces and open up their hips, because that's where a lot of heavy emotions, fears in the hips. So when you can open up your hips and you can and move your hips around, let's all move our hips around. Yeah. So when you can just even move as women, it's so yummy to move our bodies. That gets us so deeply into our bodies and into the feminine, and just moving your hips around is such a big thing. It juices things up. And bringing your shoulders back to open up your heart, that's an antidote for depression. So yeah, that's it. It's so
That's
simple.
fantastic. So I want to talk about how doing those exercises you gave us right now might affect if you're out on a date with your guy. Like, is this actually going to, if it kind of juices you up, is it going to juice him up too?
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. This is so much fun to play with, especially in the dating world. Something that I'm really into right now is teaching single women how to show up in the dating world. Well, one, so they have fun again. Two, so they don't hate men anymore. Because I understand it can be really frustrating. And three, becoming more discerning about who they're saying yes to and then who they're attracting, because the attraction begins with yourself. So what I'm teaching again in my pleasure and intimacy immersion, and what women are experiencing, is that they're slowing down. I start with the body tracking, which is getting into the body, feeling sensations in the body, and really bringing the focus back to you. It actually doesn't even matter that you're on a date with somebody. You're present and you're there with them and you're listening, your eyes are open and you're feeling your body as you're interacting with them, and you're deeply listening. And it's a practice, because it's kind of like, patting your head and rubbing your stomach at the same time. You are both aware of your own self and you're aware of the other person. And so from that place, that's the first practice I teach women in this immersion, because from that place, from that slowing down, from that connection to the body, then you can start to form words. Because the energy rises up into your throat chakra, and then you can communicate. This is a very important energy center that needs to be connected to every other part of you. So then you can form words that are authentic, that come from a deep feeling space. And what a lot of women tend to do, a lot of people, is we list what we do instead of coming from a space of intimacy, of a really personal space. And men love that. Men, and they don't know why, but when a woman is speaking from a heart space, from her yoni space, which is Sanskrit for vagina, I don't know if people know that, but when it's coming from these deep spaces, men feel that. They may not be able to articulate it, but they feel something where they want to be closer to the woman. A man could care less about what you did in your day if you're listing. But if you're speaking in a way of, I felt so good today when I connected with my clients or when I connected with my friends, that's a very different way to speak than saying, I woke up, I had coffee, I called people. Do you feel that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a very different way. When I started to embody that, whoa, men were like, I just had a text earlier, a man saying, you have a way with words. and that's really what's attracting men who are of a certain energy.
Yeah.
They're gonna pick up on that kind of stuff, and they want to be closer to that kind of communication, to that kind of energy, because it's radiant.
Yeah.
You're speaking honestly, you're speaking authentically. Men love direct communication. They love it. So give it to them, but give it to them from a place that's really, really vulnerable. Men love vulnerability, because then it gives them permission to be vulnerable too.
So
Guys,
what
there's
I
so much about dating. Gosh.
That's fantastic, because what I think it's really summed up is that journey we talked about in the beginning, from pleaser. Why do we want to please people? Well, we want to please men, for one thing, so that they'll be attracted to us. And that's why we're pleasers, so that people will like us. But what you've shown us right there is that by focusing on your pleasure, that's what pleases him. Not focusing on pleasing him, but focusing on you.
Yes. Men don't want the needy, clingy pleaser. They don't want a people pleaser. They want you to be yourself, and they want to know what you desire so they can give it to you. They are foaming at the mouth, waiting for you to tell them what you desire that's real. So a woman who is both connected to her pleasure and then can articulate it and ask for it and then receive it. Ladies, you got to be able to receive. A man will be turned off if you're like ice queen, because that's the other side of pleaser, when the wall comes up and you don't let anything in. Yeah. And men aren't into that. They want to give to you. So you got to be open to receiving. And that's a process. That's what I take women through to help them open up and give themselves permission to receive all the love and pleasure that is available to them in this body, in this lifetime.
Yeah. So talk to us about that. You offer an immersion program, it's 4 weeks. Tell us a little bit more.
So it's the Pleasure and Intimacy Immersion. Right now it's virtual, which is really cool. And I also am thinking about offering it in Portland for women who are local, because I'm an intimacy coach. I really love the face-to-face and the touching and the interacting. And the immersion, there's the 4 modules. And as I said, the first thing that I go through is body tracking, is let's I want to get you into your body as soon as possible. I used to be a therapist. I'm not interested in just talking at you. I want you to experience. And so I expect you to practice, and then you let me know how it goes and what comes up, because things are going to come up, and then we process through that. The second week, I start teaching effective communication, or how to speak like a radical pleasurist, which is the 3 C's: courage, speaking courageously, speaking clearly, speaking confidently. And that's using the language of feelings. And it's a big one. And I'm realizing now with the women that I'm going through right now, that it's a bigger course, that I need to extend it, because it's not a way that we know how to speak, or that we've been taught how to speak, or that we're used to. So it's very awkward, it's foreign. But gosh, when you speak in this way with feelings, using the words of feelings, the vocabulary of feelings, your physiology changes. The women are letting me know that they feel something different. They feel different. And the responses that they're receiving from men in their life, whether they're married or they're dating, it's different. And it's all play. It's all an experiment. I tell them, track it. Try something out. There's no wrong. There's no right. There's no failing here. There's no perfectionism. Just try it on. Speak in this way. Try different words, and then see how you feel first. Always, how do you feel? How did you feel speaking in that way? And then, what did you notice in the other person? It's all. And women, last night, a woman was saying how she felt anxious and guilty because she felt like it was selfish to only talk about her experience. Women so easily deflect and are able to ask others questions. And I said to them, I don't want you asking people questions. I want you to wait and let others invite you into a conversation, and then talk about yourself. And that's profoundly uncomfortable.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, for those of you listening, if you want to learn more about Sophia's work and do this course for yourself, we've got a link for you. Just go to yourbrilliance.org/Sophia. That's yourbrilliance.org/SOPHIA. We're coming to an end. Thank you so much, Sophia, for coming on to the show. And I want to know if you had any last message you'd like to leave our viewers with.
I do. I give you all permission to open yourself up to pleasure.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sophia. And thank you out there for listening. We hope to see you again soon. Until then, let your brilliance shine.